Because of the shortage of time, we're just going to grab our charred cloth and our equipment, and we're going to head outside. This morning when Dana and I were on the way here, we stopped at some cedar trees. And you can peel this stuff off the bark on the cedar trees, and it makes great bird's nests. Does everybody know what a bird's nest is? Yes. Yes, okay. Yeah. So it's a tinder bundle, and that's what you're going to make to get your fire started. That's not what we're going to start initially to get our flame with. We're going to use, what we like to use is charred cloth. Now, you can get your charred cloth, as I mentioned before, from denim jeans. We've got some scrap pieces here. Just simply cut them in little squares like we've done and put them, we've got several tins, but you put these in tins, fill this up, start a fire. Now these tins are loose enough, their seals are loose enough that you won't have to drill a hole, but some of them, it's probably wise just to make a small hole, 1/8 of an inch or smaller. And when you fill this tin up, you stick it in the fire and you let it burn. You're going to watch the smoke. The smoke's going to keep coming out. Once the smoke stops, you can wait a minute or two, then take this out of the fire, but do not open it. Because if you open it, what's going to happen? They're going to ignite and it's going to burn. Your charred cloth's going to be wasted. Take it out of the fire and let it cool. Okay? Once it's cooled, then you're going to have this. That's what it's going to look like.
And you can do the same thing with what's called punkwood.
And that's what this is. This is punkwood. We showed you what punkwood was. If you haven't seen it right here, it's soft wood, simply soft wood.
Just breaks apart.
Just break it apart, put it in the tin. It's made the same way as the charred cloth. Put the cover on the top, stick it in the fire till the smoke stops, take it out, let it cool. So this is, either one of these works great. They take a spark real quick. And so we're going to demonstrate it a couple different ways. This is called, what?
Flint and steel.
Flint and steel. Has anybody used flint and steel? This is flint rock, and this is just actually a piece of a file that we cut down to use as our striker. What we're going to do is put the charred cloth you set it on the edge. Now this might not be a good piece. Do we have any other flint in? I'll try it on this. But you'll set your charred cloth right to the edge of your flint stone, okay? Now this is just like knot tying. It takes a little practice.
It takes a lot of practice.
A lot of practice. But what you want to do is strike the rock as hard and quickly as you can without forcing it into it, just catching the edge of it.
I caught the spark.
She caught the spark. That doesn't happen. But all it takes is a little spark from that, and once this catches, I'll let her go with it, you set it in your tinder bundle. And once you put it in your tinder bundle, it's better to hold it above you, because once that flame takes off, it's going to come up. You want to hold it up here to blow it, so when the flame comes. Now, of course, before you get to this point, you would set up your twigs, your sticks that you're going to build your fire with. This will ignite, so you're going to set it over here. So that's flint and steel. Before you get to that point, though, of course, you would take your kindling and you would set those down first for your fire. And always check what direction your wind is from. If your wind is from this direction, which way would you point your flame, your fire, your twigs? You're going to make it sort of a teepee. You're going to leave it open on the direction. If the wind is from this way, leave it open on this end. You need oxygen. And so you're going to put your twigs, your your kindling down first, and then your bigger branches on top. So once this fire bundle ignites, you're going to set it underneath. And the air will flow through, your fire will get going. But we're going to show you another easier method using charred cloth. This one's really cheating.
We showed this one yesterday.
Yeah. And this is a ferro rod. And so you'll just take the striker part of it, you'll hold it down. It's good to set it down on something and just take it and push it towards one strike. You see that that charred cloth takes a spark very quickly. Again, you put it in, you fold it up, and you just blow on it. And then,
you start your fire from there.
yep.
Where does the ferro come from?
And this this works the same basically as the charred cloth,
That's what we used yesterday to light the rocket stove.
but we want to look at another option because here in this area you have a lot of lighter knot, fatwood, a lot of it. And where do you find it? Does anybody know? Pine trees. Now my wife made up some shavings, but we've got it here and we'll show you what you can do if you don't have these shavings, but I'll show you how quickly this lighter knot takes a spark.
To where you're not gloves.
So you can take these shavings. Now you're going to set these shavings in with your kindling because you can throw a spark into here and these will ignite. They probably won't burn all that long, so you get smaller pieces of the lighter knot and just cut it down into little twigs. These will burn quite a long time. You'll get your fire started. I bet you this would burn at least 10 minutes probably. And so you can just lay them around.
That looks like candy.
There's another way that you can do that. If you don't have that big of a knife, you can use even a smaller knife, and you can make what's called a feather stick, or just feathers with it, kind of like what I was doing there. You see how I'm leaving these actually on here? If I had a smaller stick of this, which we do.
So you say you like that, you like the whole stick?
Yeah, I'm going to throw some sparks on here.
You can
But
just-
this here whole stick, but you want to use a smaller one,
yeah,
yeah.
this is not a good piece.
Okay.
You would just keep feathering the shavings down to the end, and then you would use that end because that end will light better, of course, when it's spread out and the smaller it is.
Isn't there another word for that?
So you see, that's the concept. Just
Resin,
feathering that
Now,
along.
I've heard it,
lighter knot,
heard something other than
Has everybody seen
fatwood.
that? You know what that smells like?
There's fatwood.
that. That's what I've heard.
Okay. Fat lighter. I've heard it called different things, yeah.
Fatwood
So
and
let's take a look at this pine resin
It's light up nice. Smells great too.
that caught a spark.
The nice thing about using the kindling like this is it, like he
There you
said,
go.
it will burn a while, and if your sticks are a little wet, it's going to help you get a fire a lot faster.
And this, with all the resin in there, it's going to burn long enough that even if your wood's a little bit wet, it still should light.
What did you call that?
This is a ferro rod.
Where does it come from? Where do you buy it?
Oh,
You can buy them online. There's different.
this is my favorite one.
It's a sort of kind of metal.
Yeah, you can order them online, sporting goods stores. They have
Lithium rod, I think, is what they actually call
all different size. Now, you can explain that one.
it. Yeah, this is actually magnesium. And I'll just use this knife for it. And if you watch, you can shave off some of these little pieces. It hurts my heart to do this with
Just
my
careful
knife.
not to get too close to there. That's gonna. But you can shave that off, and that'll take Yeah. So instead of using this, you can use the magnesium rod, scrape it off. It burns at very high heat. I can't remember if it's 3,000 degrees. Yeah. Yeah. So you can use that. As you can see, this stuff burns a long time.
Now to strike these ferro rods, this is a little piece of hacksaw blade. You can use that. You can use the, this is where I mentioned earlier, these Mora knives don't have a 90-degree spine, most of them. So they won't really throw good, well, that one's making a liar out of me, but you can with some of them, I guess. My green one here, I was never able to get it to strike, but with my PTS knife, it really throws out the sparks.
Just have to have the right material. That is it. The right material.
Yeah.
So once you've got techniques and methods, fire starting and little practice, it's not that hard. These are the cotton balls I was telling you about. They're pretty dry, but I've thrown sparks onto them. They still light. Again, don't put cotton balls with Vaseline into a leather pouch because the leather's going to absorb it, but they still work. And these will actually burn a couple minutes, 3 minutes, depending how much Vaseline you have in them. So the magnesium, we did the fatwood, the charred cloth, punkwood. We've same as a charred cloth. It just takes a spark. Yeah, did you show them how to make that bird's nest out of that?
I kind of did while you were talking. You can see you just sort of have to rough it up a little bit. A friend of mine told me one time she was going to rough me up a little, so this is what she meant, I guess. I'm going to rough you up. So she was going to do this to me. You just break it up. And you'll have some pieces that'll fall out that you can still use, but you want to break up those fibers. Now, one thing I will say, when you're looking for tinder out in the wild, the cedar tree is your friend. And if it's been raining, look on one side of the tree and start noticing things like this. When you go out after it's rained, a lot of times one side of the tree is wet and the opposite side of the tree is dry. So if you find a standing dead tree that you can get punkwood out of on the dry side, or if you find an eastern red cedar or something here, you can get this outer bark and just peel it off and rough it up like that and just make it so that it's kind of fine, like I did this one. We could pass this around if y'all want to look at that.
And just get out and look for different things. The other day when we started a fire, I just took old dried grass from last year that was still standing off the ground, room sage, and I just took the same thing and roughed it up and made a bird's nest out of that. Just look for anything that's dry. Dead standing trees is your best bet for finding those kind of materials.
And here, around these parts, the lighter knot, or fatwood, or kindling, some people call it.
Brother Kelly, you gotta
this always works.
When you do that, first you want to build a little stack, and then underneath of it, have this. Because once the fire starts, you know what I mean, you want to be sticking nothing in there. So that all that fire does just keep coming up.
Right.
That's right. And that's what Brother Marvin was saying, and I think all of us understand. You start with the smaller twigs, your kindling first, and you build it up to bigger. And this is the tinder that would go underneath it. That's why we leave it open, so we can get that tinder underneath it once it's lit. And we want oxygen. Fire needs heat, oxygen, and fuel. So we want to make sure all three of those things are supplied. Any questions?
How do you spell ferro in ferro rod?
F-E-R-R-O, I think, ferro. And you can see, I don't know how long this has been burning, but those little slivers of this.
Well over 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's been burning quite a while, so you should get a fire started out of that.
If You can. There's something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And if you,
That's why
you see how
I
fast
was
those
saying
feathers,
you have all of it built around you, so
Yeah.
you gotta go looking for nothing.
That's
Right.
exactly it.
Yeah.
and this stuff ignites even when it's wet.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of it. So it's a very good resource.
Where do you said this fatwood, right? I mean, there are pine trees.
If we walked
Yeah.
So
probably not 100 yards from here, there's a stump of it.
Dead pine trees fell
Yeah.
down.
If you see a dead standing pine tree stump, you know, just maybe yay tall, and it's all rotted looking around the top, if you'll tear that away, down in the center and around the root is what you'll find. This is what you'll find.
And you'll know when you got to it because you'll have a small or strong odor of pine sol. It smells like pine sol.
it looks like it's got like pine glue all over it, thick and
Sap.
rich.
Yeah.
the sap.
We
Yeah.
used to call that term time. I think it was a
Yeah.
old,
That's
old name.
yeah.
Yeah.
Temper
Turpentine.
time.
Turpentine, yeah. And
That's a great antibacterial.
yeah.
All right, that's a quick lesson on fire starting. We didn't have much time. It would have been nice if all of us could have got to build a bird's nest and
But
spark
don't
the
ever
charred cloth.
underestimate one of these.
Yeah.
I don't. I can't.
I made one.
Well, I'll tell you,
Yeah, you made one. Very
job.
good.
one of
Good
the
job.
things
You made a
with
baby
my
bird's
children
nest.
with the lighter, I just was worried that they
That's a
might burn
hummingbird,
themselves.
Yeah.
They now make USB chargeable lighters. So there's no flame, it just makes a little spark. You just plug it into any USB, and it'll light probably a good 20 times before you need to recharge it.
Interesting.
And they're like $10 on Amazon.
Oh.
I figure it's good, you know, if you have like a little solar charger, you know, if you're out camping, you can charge it, then use it, and it lights up pretty quick. So a little piece of paper in there,
I'm
and it'll
making
light.
a bird.
Yeah.
Good job, buddy.
USB chargeable, yeah.
You can
And there are other methods to starting fires. Like I mentioned, the magnifying glass. I didn't bring it today for obvious reasons, but it does work.
I use a conventional method, which is pour gasoline. Just light it up.
Not a good idea. Is that a good idea?
That ain't a good idea. I'm wearing the scars on that.
Yeah.
No.
Oh man, that was a deal.
Yeah, the thing is, gasoline will follow you. You
That's
know?
what
Yes.
happened.
Yeah,
That
it'll
thing
follow
started
you.
will.
like this. That thing trailed.
Yep.
Can in my hand.
Oh yeah.
But I got it out of there just enough, but not far enough for it to pop.
Because in such a short time, it's really hard to get everybody involved. And so really,
You really need time to work
Yeah.
on these skills.